to go. So I am calling to order the regular meeting of the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission. This meeting is being conducted remotely and digitally recorded pursuant to Section 20 of the Acts of 2021, allowing public meetings to be conducted remotely, so that board and committee members, as well as members of the public, can participate remotely. And as I previously stated, this meeting is being recorded. I did notice we had an AI note taker in the meeting. Is that MRPC's or is that one of the members?
That should be the Zoom AI's hours, I believe. Brian or
We have
Holly.
one. We have one that is read.ai meeting notes.
I believe that's our Zoom meeting note taker. That rings a bell. Brian, does that look familiar, sir?
Yeah, I believe so too.
I
That's
believe it
typically
is.
Okay.
is automatic. Yeah.
Okay. And as we always state at the beginning of the meetings, it's fine for anyone to record or use an AI note taker. Just always pleased to make sure to do the commission the honor of letting us all know, the courtesy rather. So moving ahead on our agenda, on the window that I accidentally just minimized, we have the introductions and announcements. I do not believe we have any additional ones past the ones stated. So we are on to acceptance of the minutes of the previous meeting. The minutes for the meeting have been made available to all of the members through email and through the packet for preparation for this meeting. I'd like to handle acceptance of them by taking a first, then a second, and then doing corrections and adjustments during the discussion session. But before we do that, I would actually like to request a calling of the roll for attendance.
Okay, I have Alan Pease,
Here.
Thomas Russo,
Here.
Robert Schwartz,
Schwartz here.
Doug Thornton,
Thornton here.
Christopher Monroe,
Monroe here.
Brian Keating,
Brian Keating here.
Dean Valier,
Valier here.
Amanda Reed,
Here.
Guy Corbacero,
Corbacero here.
and Cindy King.
Cindy King is here.
All right. Any commissioners not called or heard? All right. Hearing none, recognizing that we have a quorum present. So moving ahead back to the item that was at issue is acceptance of the previous minutes. Do we have somebody who'd like to make a motion?
Schwartz makes a motion to accept the meeting minutes of May 7th, 2026.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
Corbacero second.
Thank you. Hearing a first and a second. Any discussion or corrections for the minutes?
One little item in list of members, my name was misspelled the first time, but not all the other times. So whatever. I don't know how important it is at all.
I apologize. I'll make sure that's corrected.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. No big deal. I wasn't even thinking of mentioning it.
And any other corrections? All right, and gentlemen who made the motion, you accept those corrections as a friendly amendment to your motion. So the motion is to accept the minutes with corrections.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. So any further discussion? All right, hearing none, calling a vote by roll.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Thomas Russo,
Russo, aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Schwartz, aye.
Douglas Thornton,
Thornton, aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Monroe, aye.
Brian Keating,
I don't think I was here last month. Can I vote on that?
Yeah, you certainly can. You can vote,
Okay.
you can abstain, you can do whatever you want.
Okay, sure. Yes.
Dean Valier,
Abstain, not present for the last meeting.
Amanda Reed,
I'll abstain.
Guy Corbisiero,
Corbisiero, aye.
Cindy King.
I'm going to abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any commissioners not called or heard on the issue? All right, the minutes are accepted. So moving forward on the agenda, we have the reading and the acceptance of the cash schedule and warrant. Mr. Schwartz, would you do us the honor?
All right. Cash schedule as of 5/1 to 5/31/2026. Checking Rockland Trust balance on hand, $220,908.32. Outstanding checks as of 4/30, $16,773.84. Total on deposit, $618,869.95. Earned an interest of $261.84. Total receipts, $356,456.39. Less the amount of all cash disbursements, $229,916.82. The balance after the warrant is $745,409.52. I make a motion to accept the cash schedule as presented and as you received copies of it.
Corbisiero, second.
All right, thank you very much. Any discussion or questions on the schedule? All right, hearing none, I'm calling a vote by roll.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Thomas Russo,
Russo, I.
Robert Schwartz,
Aye.
Doug Thornton,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Monroe, aye.
Brian Keating,
Aye.
Dean Valier,
Valier, aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Guy Corbisiero,
Corbisiero, aye.
and Cindy King.
Cindy King, aye.
Any commissioners not heard or called on the issue? All right, hearing none, the motion carries. So this would be one of the items that Glenn would have and I would have normally caught up on a phone call, but unfortunately I was remiss to not be able to do that this time. We don't have any guest announcements or questions for this evening?
Not to my knowledge.
Excellent, thank you. So moving on into administrative matters, we have what is probably our largest administrative matter of the year every year. And as everyone is aware, we conduct a process pursuant to our bylaws where we have a nominating committee. The nominating committee calls for volunteers, and then it goes out and hunts for volunteers to be voluntold in the positions if we don't have volunteers. It then presents a slate of officers at the meeting before the June meeting to be voted on at this meeting here today. So that is an outline of what the process has been so far. So currently what the nominating committee has presented to the commission is to nominate myself for chair, for Mr. Corbisiero, for vice chair, for Mr. Schwartz, for treasurer, Mr. Thornton for vice treasurer, for secretary, Mr. Nardowitz, for at large, Ms. Ms. Bohart, and also Mr. Cunningham. Now, this year, these positions, which also constitute our executive committee, have a little bit of additional weight and a little bit of additional responsibility that go with them. Because as we've been discussing, we need to make sure that we're engaging with the staff, that the commission has alignment, and that we're moving forward into outlining what our transition for executive director is going to look like, because obviously we're going to have some mighty big shoes to fill when Glenna eventually rides off into the sunset. So I appreciate everybody who has participated in the process and who has also been nominated. And with that, we do usually put a call out to this meeting if there is anybody who would like to throw their hat in on anything else for discussion. So is there anybody else who would like to throw their hat in for discussion on any of the positions? All right, hearing none. Mr. Eden, do you have anything else to add to that that data point on that? Otherwise, I'll call for a motion.
No, nothing. Please proceed.
Thank you. Well, would somebody like to make a motion to move the slate of proposed officers?
Guy
I
Corbis, oh,
Go ahead, Guy.
okay. Guy Corbisiero moves the slate as presented.
Swart second.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that motion. And second, it was going to become a very awkward meeting if nobody moved anything. So I definitely appreciate that. So with that said, this is the call for discussion. Any discussion or comment? All right, hearing none, I'm calling a vote by the roll.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Thomas Russo,
Russo, aye.
Robert Swartz,
Swartz, aye.
Doug Thornton,
Thornton, aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Monroe, aye.
Brian Keating,
Aye.
Dean Valier,
Valier, aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Guy Corbisiero,
Corbisiero, aye.
and Cindy King.
Cindy King, aye.
Are there any members or commissioners not heard or called on the issue? All right, hearing none, the motion carries. Well, as I said, thank you all for volunteering, and also thank you for putting your faith in me for another year to keep these meetings organized and also get us on track with the ED transition. So I take that responsibility very seriously, and we'll work to make sure you're all happy with what we've done here today. So moving forward, we have 5-2, and I will turn this one over to Mr. Eden.
The never-ending story that's known as the FY audit, FY25 audit, is coming to a conclusion. Grassi Advisors, GRASSI, Grassi Advisors, indicated yesterday that they are having an internal review, private sector company, a lot of people, a lot of partners. So they've moved it up to the chain for a partner review. And the our contact, Valerie, said that by the end of next week, she'll give me a date on when the presentation will be ready. So I can say, please stay tuned, and we will send out a date and hold a meeting accordingly. We'll check with calendars, basically. Certainly Christopher, our chair, our internal fiscal staff and support staff, and then hold that meeting accordingly. I pray it's going to happen before June 30th, and I'm just hoping. Please don't paint me into a corner yet on what the date is. We do not know. That's all I have for that item.
All right, thank you very much. So moving into 5-3, we've discussed at a couple meetings now what the process has been. We actually discussed it again a few minutes ago. So I certainly support what's being proposed here in the report from Mr. Eden. Is there anything you'd like to add to it?
Not really, other than we'd like to meet at a special meeting on the Date proposed on August 6th. We'll start the meeting at 5, feed you at 6, and then have our regular meeting at 7 after that. So that's the gist of that. If you're okay with that, I did put it in the form of a report and resolution to ask you to take official action if that's what you'd like to do. This would mixed in here. Also, the very first paragraph is recommending that there be no meeting in July. These are recommendations if you want to hold a July meeting. I think more than 50% of the last 27 years, we haven't had meetings in July because it's such a peak season for vacation for people. And it's been kind of hard to get quorum sometimes. That's up to you. But I'm recommending no meeting in July. Have a meeting on August 6th at 5, our regular meeting night at 5 p.m. to talk about transition. We'll put on the dinner fare at 6 and have our regular meeting at 7. So this would be an in-person meeting on August 6th. From 5 to 7 and then 7 to 8. Holly has her hand up, and that's all I have.
Yep.
I just wanted to mention, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, that we also will set up, so if you're unable to attend in person, we'll have it available online as well. But we would love to have everybody be able to get together. We can have a meal and a little bit of conversation and kind of get to know each other again. It's been a long time since we've seen each other.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
and I certainly echo that point because this is probably one of the more important meetings that the collective group of us have had as commissioners. So it is very much worth the time if you're not traveling. So I encourage everybody on the EC to get on the calendar. So with that, I actually think we need a motion, but let's do it anyways. Would somebody like to make a motion to move the resolution?
Guy Corbisiero, I move the resolution.
All right, thank you. We have a second?
1 second.
Excellent, thank you. Any discussion?
Question, will there be cupcakes, Holly?
I actually was going to mention that, but yes, there will be, just for you and everybody else.
Oh, I'll be
Absolutely.
there. I'll be there.
I'll make plenty so you can take some home.
Excellent. Any other questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, calling a vote by the roll.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Thomas Russo,
Aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Schwartz, aye.
Doug Thornton,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Monroe, aye.
Brian Keating,
Aye.
Dean Valier,
Valier, aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Guy Corbisiero,
Corbisiero, aye.
Cindy King.
Cindy King, aye.
All right, any commissioners not called or heard on the issue? All right, hearing none, the motion carries. So moving into item 5.4, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Eaton to start with.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to highlight what's here. I will not read every word. If there are questions, I'm happy to answer them. Before I throw numbers at you, I'm trying to document for institutional memory a little bit more in last year's meeting adoption, this year's meeting. It's got budget adoption this year, tonight's, and then next year's. Next year, when we do the FY28 budget, will be the last budget I touch. So the bottom line is if commissioners and staff want to go back to the most recent 3 years after I go, a lot of what I've been saying for 20 something years, whatever, 19 years, is in these minutes for these 3 years in a row. So I always bore people with diversify the revenue streams. We can't depend on one source. If you're a private business or a cookie seller, you got to have muffins too, and you got to have Holly's cupcakes, right? So it's always important to make sure that you don't get overly dependent on one revenue stream. Revenue projections. It is a rule that we adopted from our former auditor, Roland Lambalot, CPA, that basically states if you have a contract in fully executed, or if you're 90% certain that you will receive a grant award, you put it in the budget. but you don't put what we call speculative grants, grants that haven't been awarded, grants you might have applied for in January, but you won't hear until July 3rd. Grants we just applied for on June 2nd, but we won't hear about till September, October. Those are not in the revenue projections, but I do talk about that in the narrative. Could somebody scroll? Brian, you scrolling? Are you doing that tonight, or is it Holly? Oh, thank you. Okay. So we'll go to the.
That's me, Glenn.
Thanks a lot, Brian. Okay, I should have asked before. I'm so sorry. So the next paragraph, which talks about projections, including deficits each year when the fiscal year budget is adopted. When the agency adopts its budget each June, it is of vital importance that the projected deficit be no more than 20%. We have history in budgets to prove that if you're under 20% in June for your upcoming fiscal year, you'll get through it with what I call in that third line with aggressive grant writing. The agency would then be able to deliver all services in accordance with a statutory reference, Section 7 under the Regional Planning Law 40B. And you can get through the year with current employees through the entire fiscal year. We did have one year where we had a 37% deficit at the beginning. We then didn't get some grants, and I had to lay off 5 people out of the 18 or 17 or 16 that we had at the time. That was bad. The next paragraph, non-salary increase due to rising health insurance costs. On the non-salary expense side, we did propose to increase the health insurance by about 20%. Health insurance costs have been going up pretty crazily. You know, my gut tells me they'll go up 10 or 15%, but we're saying 20 because they could be that high. All other expenses have gone up either slightly or they're virtually the same. So, you know, as an example, or lower, our office supplies budget, I think, I'm using round numbers, we can see it later. But if we had $7,500 in there this year, we've gone down to $5,000 or $4,000 this year because we're watching our costs. We're not in the office as much. We're in 2 days a week, so we're not using as many paper consumables for the copy machines and the kitchen and the bathrooms and so on and so forth. Intentionally blank on that. Brian, could you go to the top of the next page, please? We'll continue the summary, and then we'll give a summary of the highlight of the numbers. Overhead and possible need for fiscal staff support. The indirect cost rate, which is the same as the overhead rate, and there's an acronym there that we use throughout the rest of the presentation. The handout is a calculation of indirect costs over the direct labor. So you take the direct labor divided into indirect costs, and that's how you get your overhead rate. So overhead rate, the average overhead rate for the last 25 years, give or take, from FY01 to FY24 with a gap there for 8 and 9 because those audits are somehow missing. And I'm going to try to track them down with our prior auditor. But basically, we've been running at about 118% or 1.1844. We used to be, for the last, I'd say, until about a year or two ago, our average overhead rate was about 125 or 123 or so. Average is actually coming down, which is a good feeling. You can see there it's been as high as 153 and as low as about 101 there in fiscal 16. I have the initials on the bottom of that chart. You'll see FY01 MK, that's Mohammed Khan. In FY07, you'll see FY07 LM, that's Lila Mishad, and 08 to 24 is GE for myself. Can you scroll down a little bit more, please, Brian? We'll go to the paragraph below the graph. Increases in the overhead rate occur when there's a no. Can you scroll back? I'm sorry, to that paragraph just under the chart. That's it. Perfect. Indirect increases occur when significant reduction in the frontline staff is made, and decreases occur when additional planners are added to the payroll. That's the large variable. If you lay off 5 people, they're not charging directly to contracts anymore because you don't have contracts. But then over a sudden, you still have overhead costs. So things are out of balance, and that's when the overhead goes up. We've been pretty safe now for quite a while, and we haven't had a big increase in about 4 or 5 fiscal years there. Let's see. I do want to point out that Tracy and Holly and I, we've spoken a couple times within the last, I'd say, 2 months or so, and it looks like we're going to need a 0.5 full-time equivalent administrative employee that will be in the fiscal to support Tracy directly. And if Tracy runs out of work on a day, then we might use that person to help with some admin stuff. We've had 3 to 4 to 3 people in the admin and fiscal department. When Linda Parmenter retired, we still had 4 because we had Holly promoted. We had Linda Quinlivan as fiscal director. We hired a part-timer, Christopher McNamara, who became the fiscal director. And right now we're down to 3, and I don't want to say we're always treading water, but it's busy, and we need some other people to just be supportive in the office. So that I just want to give background. That's background. Okay, now to the report, budget adjustments. Oh, so Brian, if you could scroll some more, we'll put FY budget adjustments on the top of that screen. So this is a summary of what the budget will look like right now if we adopt tonight. Brian, I'll ask you in a moment or two, just preparing you, sir, to pull up the handouts for FY26 and then FY27. But don't do it now. We'll get to that. So this budget amendment for the current fiscal year, what happens is in every June, we adopt a budget for the next fiscal year. But the first thing we do is we finalize any amendments to our current budget. So our current budget's 26. So what we show is we've earned 2.662 million this fiscal year. Our expenses are about 2.83736. So we have a deficit of about 161,628. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean you lost money? No, it means that we ate more of our cash in our bank account than we earned in revenue. And the bottom line there is we were not as diligent in submitting our invoices to about 20 vendors, about 20 entities, mostly state vendors and federal, on a timely basis. That situation was corrected about 6 months ago. We are much better now. You can see where the cash reports, the monthly cash schedules at the very beginning that Tracy prepares for us every 30 days. You can see where we earned about $260,000 this month. We spent about $230,000, so we netted about $30,000 in the cash account. So we're not having that problem anymore, but it was a problem last year, and we corrected it. But this is what we do. We need to inform you, our members of the board, what's going on. There's a resolution there to adopt the changes. I'm not going to ask for that now. I'd like to present the FY27 if I could. Mr. Chair, there are some tie-ins I'd like to talk about. So is that okay with you?
Yeah, please proceed.
Okay, great. So Brian, can you scroll a little bit more to the next, I guess probably the next page? We'll talk a little bit about 27. So I try to do a little bit of strengths and weaknesses. I didn't do a full SWOT, but the strengths in the 27 budget, increase in MassDOT's annual allocation of about 15.2%. Plus, I don't have it there, it's somewhere else. Oh, the next bullet, transportation knocked it out of the park again. And we were able to, they were able to get us awarded another community transit grant for 74,000 and change. That's great. This is the second year in a row, I believe. Brian, if I say stuff wrong, you got to correct me, man. Okay, just so you know. Okay, wonderful. I saw you're okay. Thank you, sir. The third bullet talks a little bit more about the planning and development department. So they've submitted 10 grant proposals totaling $875,000 in potential revenue. So 7 of those were submitted in the winter. The December, January total time frame, for about $660,000. And then another 3 were submitted on June 3rd, yesterday, not June 2nd. I misspoke, for another $215,000. So that totals to about the 874. 604,000 would be for staff, and consultants would be $270,000 if they're all awarded. Brian, would you go down to the table? And that's just a snapshot. If people like tables more than narrative, what I just said in the narrative on bullet number 3 is there in tabular form. We can scroll a little bit past the table, Brian, to the next bullet that says planning development has been very successful, vastly improved grant rating capabilities. What do I mean by that? Brian's not the only Bernie Cahill. I swear you all have to change your names. I'm forgetting. Bernie Cahill is a superior grant writer, and what I challenged Bernie with when he was promoted to planning development position X 6 months ago, let's say, was okay. But you have to train the others. You can't be the only grant writer, because what if something happens to you? If you go back to England to live, that we can't have that. We always have to train other people. So he's done that, and I believe everybody in planning development contributed to those 10 grants in the past 6 months. That's a very good thing. Bernie's batting 7 out of 7 because last September or October he wrote grants in June, and they were all awarded. So this is a very good sign. This is a very good thing. And training other staff with these skills is also very, very good. Weaknesses to the budget. We're overly dependent on state planning grant programs, and they're highly competitive. Having said that, above, we do a good job in getting them. This is a long paragraph. The second one to say the Economic Development Administration Economic Adjustment Assistance Program, basically to me, is free money. It's free money. As long as you come up with an idea for an economic development planning study, although it's even a dollar for dollar, 50-50 grant program or 60-40, you go after it. You take existing state grants that you're going to do economic development planning, and you, meaning the entity, we as a collective team, you go after these monies. We haven't done this since the Filter Project, the Future Industrial Lands for Long-Term Economic Recovery and Resiliency. We need to go back to the habit of, and no less than every 3 years, pursuing EAA. And I plant a seed in the last sentence or two. Let's see, a market demand study and implementation plan for the creation of additional small business incubators and collaborative workspace program centers or maker spaces would make an excellent topic for a new EAA proposal. Such plan, if implemented, would lead to a grassroots effort to create new jobs in the region versus doing smokestack chasing. So there are other ideas. This is one of them. I'm partial to these topics. So before I leave, I'm going to work with Bernie and try to go down this road to get another EAA grant. This is on top of the annual $70,000 we get every year for economic development planning. Last bullet, a possible lack of grant revenue to the MRPC would result in staff reduction to planning and development department. I'm putting a lot more stuff in here because when I finish reviews over the next few weeks, I want to pull these minutes of this handout and say, this is how it works, folks. Money just doesn't fall out of heaven. You have to sing for your supper. Salaries paragraph. Brian, can you put that up higher on the screen? That'd be great. So it's the policy of the organization. Oh, okay. So shifting gears a little bit. When we look at increases for staff, what do we look at? We don't look at the national cost of living or the national CPI, I could say, Consumer Price Index. We look at the Northeast Consumer Price Index for the Northeast United States. This was a practice, not a policy written into our personal policy, but a practice that was adopted by a vote by the commissioners about 10, 12, 15 years ago. Please don't quiz me on the date. If you want me to find it, I'm happy to go get it. Not tonight. It would take me a few hours to find that. But we follow the Northeast CPI. So from March to April this year, the CPI went up a whole percentage point. And from April last year to April this year, CPI for the Northeast went up 4.4%. This is copy and paste right out of the Northeast report from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Let's see, Brian, can you go to the next paragraph that starts with for salary increase comparisons with peer organizations, other RPAs. So that's what we look at, just for everyone's edification. RPAs look at other RPAs and COGS, regional planning agencies, and councils of government. We don't look at state government employees. We don't look at federal employees for what do you do with your people for raises or what. We don't look at municipalities. No disrespect intended, but comparing an RPA to a municipality is comparing it, an orange to a steam car from 1900. They're just different things. So the other three I contacted, they're all looking about the similar 4 to 5% wage increase. I'm proposing a 5% wage increase for our people. Another factoid that I found, and I couldn't find the source, is that the nationally the wages increased about 3.1%, but with the 4.4% increase in CPI in the Northeast, basically the CPI, the cost of living, has outstripped the wages of the last year. So that's really an issue. So we look at that as a litmus test, and that's why I'm proposing 5% in the FY27 salary. Paragraph, a conservative FY27 budget with reasonably high expenses and low revenue projections has been presented to the commissioners. What I didn't say, and I don't see it here, but once I get through this, I'll make sure I say something else. In February 26th, we presented a draft FY27 budget. We can go to the next page. Okay. At that time, revenue, expenses, and surplus deficit and indirect rate were estimated. I forgot to put the overhead rate in. Sorry about that. So we projected about 2.3 million for revenue, about 2.9 million for expenses, with a surplus deficit 533. Right now, with much better numbers, some contracts carry over. many contracts carry over from one fiscal year to the next, and I'd say about 15 are carrying over in round numbers, and about 10 went away. So the second table, as of tonight, revenue we're projecting about 2.374 million, expenses about 2.673, and the surplus deficit about 299. That surplus deficit is about 11%, if I remember the table correctly. We're going to go to the handout in just a second and show you the real numbers, where these come from. And if you have questions, we can answer that. Then it says see accompanying handouts. So Brian, if you could pull up each one, the FY26 budget, and we'll scroll down to the very bottom, not the very bottom. Keep scrolling down to the bottom of this page. Okay, right there, Brian, those very last few numbers, if you could zoom in on those to make those broader. At the very end there, it says just the very last few rows right there. Right there. Thank you very much. So total expenses 2.83, 2.823. You can see where you get that number. Estimated surplus deficit of 161,628. Actually, we kept working on the budget yesterday. So the budget in the real spreadsheet here is the deficit is less than the one in the table in the handout tonight. So that other number was 233 or something. This is 161. So I thought we had a deficit of about 11%, but it's only about 5.7%. That is extremely healthy. And just to be crystal clear, you don't have all the money you need for the whole fiscal year. But here's the wicked good upside, being a Massachusetts kid, that if you have a $5.7 projected deficit before July has even started, you can easily plug a 5.7 deficit throughout the year. And the point I wanted to bring back was the 800 and something, 850, 860, 875 that's out there pending in grants that planning and development throughout there. Even if you only get a third or a fourth of those, you're in surplus territory. So, hang on, that'll be the 27 budget. This is the 26. So this is where we were talking about the deficit we were eating to our cash. So save that point for the 27 budget. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. So Brian, could you pull up the FY27 budget, please? And that's where we'll see a greater deficit going forward. So let's get down to the same level. And then there's one last point I want to make. Okay, so here's that 11%. So this is the FY27 budget. Sorry for the confusion on my part. I deeply apologize for that. So estimated deficit 299. Let's just call it 300 among friends. 11.2. If you're under that 20%, okay, we're about half of that 20. You can get through the year. But of that 864 that we applied for, we really need 300 of it. So you need about 40%. The last thing I want to say is, Brian, would you be so kind to scroll to the top of this spreadsheet where we have the revenues? So, Brian, you will have your MassDOT stuff. We'll have the state revenue. Okay, let's start there. So very quickly, federal revenue, row 8. So that's the MassDOT, the combined planning green, the EPA brownfields, the triennial. What I did not put in here, because a grant award was just made for $74,000. It's not in here. So if you put the 74 in here, it chips away the 299. That 11% should go down to 9 or 8% or whatever it is. Look at the state revenue. Brian, could you scroll down? And there's a really important point I want to make. Here's state revenue. What does this mean? This means that we're very successful getting state money to help our cities and towns do local planning projects. And this is an excellent thing. Green communities, Mass Trails, Mass Office of Outdoor Recreation, Westminster Mass Plan, Royals, all this is being done with state grant resources. And then scroll down a little bit more under local revenue. Leominster zoning ordinance amendments, $2,000. Pause for effect. And I'm doing that on purpose because the communities, we know planning loses to police, right? But I want to highlight something, and then my speech is over. And I'm sorry it was so long-winded, but you deserve all this information. The communities typically don't hire us to do local planning stuff. But if they can get it for free, they will. And that's the bottom line. And we'd love to give you free money all the time from the state. We're happy to do that. It allows us to meet our core enabling statute requirement, deliver services. And you get a master plan out of it, or a zoning bylaw, or an affordable housing plan, or something else like that. But I want to go back 5 years when all of a sudden the world stopped on March 13th, 2020. And that the upcoming fiscal year, so that would have been FY20, FY21, and FY22. That $2,000 was $200,000 to $300,000. All of a sudden, the world stopped, and local communities found money, and they hired us. You hired us to do a lot of stuff. So thank you for that. But this is something that tells me we got to hit the bricks, go out, and I've been talking to Holly and Tracy. We're going to come up very soon with some outreach materials. If this was a private business, they're marketing materials. But it's like, this is what we do for you. Do you want help? Do you have money in a treasure chest over there that you really need a master plan or something small, an economic development plan? But this is painfully low, and this needs to be bolstered to improve the budget and improve services to our communities. The last thing I will say on rows 34 and 35, there's the transit grant for $75,000 with a lot of question marks. It's 74 and change, and there's historic preservation for 1333. So this is money that's going to MEC, our nonprofit affiliate, and then MEC will hire MRPC to do planning efforts. So I'm trying to put in a placeholder now for MEC, because MEC can make the agency money. In the next executive director, if you get someone who's really good with nonprofit world and scooping up money and contracts in that world, that's very important to the revenue for the future. That and local revenue. I'm done. I apologize. That was probably 25 minutes, but it's so important that you see this big. So the two resolutions are to adopt the budget for 26 as is, and then adopt 27. And I turn it back to our chairman. Thank you all for listening. I deeply appreciate your time this evening.
All right, so questions from the commission for Mr. Eden. And we'll pause extra long here because there's a lot of information. So I guess to start it off, it seemed reasonable. I mean, I'm seeing the same thing with in the private sector right now in terms of what it's taking to keep people, because folks who are skilled and are further along in their career journey do have options out there, and it's definitely there's definitely still a market for experienced staff, and if we don't keep pace with that, we're doing ourselves and the staff a disservice. So I thank you for being conscious of that. So anybody else have any questions or concerns or thoughts on it? All right, so let's look at this procedurally. So we have two resolutions on it. Let me zoom back up. I went into the individual numbers. So let's go to the first one, which is just making sure that's the one that's on the screen. All right. So would somebody like to move the resolution to adopt the financial year 26 budget?
Schwartz, I make a motion to adopt the FY26 budget as presented.
All right, thank you. Here in the first, do we have a second?
Second, Alan Pease.
All right, additional questions and comments? Any discussion? Calling a vote by the roll.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Thomas Russo,
Russo, aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Schwartz, aye.
Doug Thornton,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Monroe, aye.
Brian Keating,
Aye.
Dean Valier,
Valier, aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Guy Corbacero, Guy Corbacero, I don't see Guy here anymore.
Yeah, he was just here, but it looks like he might have dropped off.
Okay, Cindy King,
Cindy King, aye.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Any commissioners not heard or called on the issue? All right, it looks like the motion carries, assuming that we didn't drop below a quorum there. Could we just get a count just to make sure?
So yes, I have
It's
9.
good.
So okay.
We're
Okay.
good.
Excellent. So in that case, we are on to the next resolution here, which is to move the adoption of the 27 budget as presented this evening. Do we have a motion on that?
Russo, I move that we adopt the fiscal year 2027 budget.
All right, thank you.
Schwartz.
Do we have a second?
Schwartz, second.
Any discussion on the 2027 budget? Hearing none, I'm calling a vote by the roll.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Thomas Russo,
Russo, aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Schwartz, aye.
Doug Thornton,
Thornton, aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Monroe, aye.
Brian Keating,
Aye.
Dean Valier,
Valier, aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
and Cindy King.
Cindy King, aye.
Okay, and I still don't see Guy, so
Any commissioners not called or heard on the issue? All right, hearing none, the motion carries. So moving into 5.5 and 5.6, I'll turn it back to Mr. Eden.
Very quickly, thanks, Mr. Chairman. 5.5 is just simply a Brownfields meeting registration link. Next meeting will be June 16th at 10:30. We'll send this up on the website, and I'll be doing an email blast by Monday, maybe tomorrow, but by Monday at the outside. And Holly, can you take this one? We need forms from people to make sure we know that planning boards and boards of selectmen and mayors will appoint people, but then we need you to fill out that pesky MRPC form. I need to apologize. I need to actually have a bathroom break. So Holly, if they have any questions on 5.6, can you fill them for me, please?
Sure, absolutely. This is just a reminder to everyone that I have sent out appointment forms to each community for the member position and the alternate position. And I believe Brian has completed sending out forms for the MJTC. Is that correct, Brian?
yes.
And so we're just asking that if you haven't been asked or you haven't seen anything, if you could maybe just follow up to see if those forms can get back to us. It would be nice to get as many of those in as quickly as possible. It just saves us from having to reach out a few times. So it's just a reminder.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right, so in that case, we're moving into item 6, which is department updates. Do we have any updates past what was in the documents from GIS?
Both Jason and Kayla are not here
That's a
tonight,
good
and
point.
I don't believe, I did ask, I believe Glenn also asked, and I don't believe we had any new updates to present for tonight's meeting.
Okay. How about planning and
Yeah.
transportation?
Yeah, I can do planning first if that's all right, Brian. First of all, thank you to everyone who attended Monday and Tuesday's meetings about the consolidated local permitting for clean energy projects. The meeting was with guest speaker Stephen Mino. He's the Clean Energy Siting and Permitting Regional Coordinator for the Central Region of the Department of Energy Resources, which is a really long title. But it was really great. It was well attended. I think Monday was a little sparse. I think we had 7 people, but we had well over 20 on Tuesday for the lunch and learn, which was fantastic. So we have really good turnout. Thought the presentation was great. And I did send out the PowerPoint slides Stephen presented, as well as a few other documents that he sent my way after the fact. So if you didn't get any of those PDFs, please reach out to me and let me know. I did try to include everyone, including all of yourselves, on that email. So this is coming up, but it was great. It was really well attended, like I said, and I mean, I learned a lot, so I thought it was really well done. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Community One-Stop grants, the deadline was yesterday. Submitted 3 of them, 2 of them for Leominster and 1 for MRPC to do a solid waste master plan update. I think we'd mentioned this last time. The last time this was done was 2005. And with the upcoming, we don't know the exact date, but with the forthcoming closure of the Fitchburg Westminster landfill, as well as additional landfills throughout Massachusetts and New England, this is really becoming an issue. So the whole, just so everyone knows, behind the project, it's going to update the old plan as stated. To address the trash and recycling crisis. There is now a 2030 solid waste master plan for the state, so it would bring us in line with that and try to align the region's goals with the state's goals. And through and what I submitted as a scope of work too, with that, this would be accomplished through educational and operational strategies, right, to reduce the amount of solid and organic waste that's being produced. So source waste, reducing the amount created, creating new hazardous waste disposal options similar to what they have at Devon's, and establishing recycling and reuse opportunities, new ones for businesses and residents. So we're hoping, I believe the announcements for those awards would be in October. Fingers crossed we get this one. It's very important for our region, obviously, for so many reasons. Even if we don't get it, I have been in talks with Glenn about we need to go forward with this anyways and finding other sources of funding for it. But hopefully we get this one. To me, it's a no-brainer for the state to say yes. It's so important, but we will see. And that was just yesterday or 2 days ago it got submitted. Lastly, I just wanted to give a quick Massachusetts Integrated Land Use Strategy, or MILUS, update that MRPC is still part of the conservation working group for this. For those of you who don't remember, MILUS is the state's attempt to kind of create a master plan for the whole Commonwealth, similar to master plans we have for municipalities. Jeff Legros, our senior planner, is our representative on the conservation working group. And this past May, he's went to a couple of meetings and has been working with the MILUS team, providing them with feedback and data, and our GIS team has been part of that as well. And overall, the completion date for this state project is now been moved to New Year's Eve 2026. So it is going forward, and you will start seeing, I believe, in a month or two, some drafts, and you'll probably be hearing about it a bit more, maybe in the news and other local information sites. So you'll hear more from us for sure. I think that was really it for the big updates. Brian, I'll hand it over to you. Unless anyone has any questions. Sorry. And you can always email me too. All right, Brian, go ahead.
Okay, just 2 quick updates. Last month, I mentioned one of the federally required documents that the MPO is responsible for, the Transportation Improvement Program, was out for public comment. That is one of our main obligations through the year is to prioritize these federal transportation investments and make a listing. So we've been working on that through the winter months. That was endorsed by the MPO at the meeting in May. Currently, we have another federally required document out, which is basically transportation staff's work plan, the Unified Planning Work Program. That was sent out for public comment. It's within the public comment period now. You can find that document on our homepage right under announcements. I believe that the comment period ends next Friday. So there's still time to check that out. And we'll do the same thing as we did with the tip. We'll review that with our JTC group, our MPO group, and they will vote to endorse in June. So that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the commission? All right, hearing none, let's roll forward on the agenda, which takes us down to new business. Is there anything else for the agenda for this evening? or items that were not previously on the agenda or should be on the agenda for an upcoming meeting?
Not from staff, I don't believe, sir.
All right, thank you. So it looks like we are on to our final item, which is no longer true. We do not have a meeting scheduled for Thursday, July 9th. We have an EC's meeting scheduled for August
6th.
August 6th. Excellent. Thank you very much. So with that, would somebody like to make the final motion of the evening?
Schwartz, motion to adjourn.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second, Alan Pease.
All right. It is not debatable. Do we have any objections or any in opposition? All right, hearing none, we are adjourned at 7:57 p.m. Well, thank you to the staff for getting everything prepared for this evening, and thank you to the commissioners for your time and your volunteerism that brings you here.
Thank you, Chris.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks.